Hey guys, Gary here with Piedmont Fishing. I'll do a little video tonight on my top 5 crappie crankbaits for long line trolling. Um, it's ones I like to use. I'm not as well when I crappie fish. I like to use this technique because it allows me to search areas. I don't really sink trees anymore. I used to put a lot of Christmas trees in the water and fish around them. But now I don't have as much time on my hands, so I go out and I do long lining because it allows me to troll and cover water a lot quicker and find fish. I'll find fish suspended. May not be actually over brush or anything. Catch a lot of fish this way. Seems to be productive 90% of the time, about any time of the year. So with that, I'm going to go over the baits with you next, and then after I go over the baits with you, then I'm going to go over and tell you a little bit about the technique and how I do it. Let's take a look at the baits. Okay, here we go on the baits, and these are in no particular order. I like them all, and different times I fish with each one. It's just kind of the mood what I'm in to fish for at the time. But number one is the Bandit 200 and 300 series crankbaits. Super good lure. I like them because they come in a lot of different colors and a lot of colors that Crappie really like. Don't know what this one's called, but it's one of my favorites. Super good bait. The 200s dive about 6 to 8 feet. The 300s will go on down to, depending on what pound test line you're running, they may go down to 14 feet. Probably on average about 12 though. So, but anyway, that's one of my favorites, one of my go-tos. The Bandit 200 and 300. I'm gonna show you the crankbaits first, but that's number one. All right, number two is the Strike King slab hammer. Looks a lot like the Bandit. Comes in a lot of good colors. It's a good quality bait. Runs true most of the time. So you know the Bandit does too. Excellent crappie fishing bait. I've run tests on them. I've run Bandits on one side and the Strike King slab hammers on the other to see if one outperformed the other, and they don't really. One performs about as good as the other. Bandit does have a bigger selection of colors, but I think the Strike Kings are just a little bit cheaper. But they got good colors too for crappie. But the Bandit 200, 300, and then the Strike King slab hammer. And the slab hammer comes in two different sizes. It comes in this is the bigger version, and there's one just a little bit smaller. It runs just a little shallower, and for being a little finicky, I'll pick up that smaller one sometimes. Number three, this is the Norman Deep Tiny N. You don't see a lot of these anymore, but they're an excellent bait. They catch a lot of fish, a lot of crappie. The only thing I think limiting these will probably be my favorite, except for the color choices. They don't seem to have a lot of good crappie color choices, but when you crappie change from day to day when you're fishing for them. One day they might be going for pink, won't hit nothing but pink, and next day they're chartreuse, next day they're green, next time they're blue, red, whatever. But the Normans, if they had the color choices Bandits did in these deep tiny N, it would be probably my all-time favorite, because and now they don't make as many colors as they used to. I've bought a lot of the vintage ones, over the years. And I've probably got a good 20, 25 different colors in these because, but they're tailored more towards bass and bass colors. But they excellent, excellent bait. And like I said, if they're some days tough and they want those smaller baits, I go with these and try these. That's my 3 crankbaits I like. Now I'm gonna go to some soft plastics I like. And here is one of my favorites, probably. Yeah, I'm gonna say one of my favorites, not my favorite, but is the Bobby Garland Stroll R. I like these. They have a good tail wobble. You can move around pretty fast. Some people troll the like curly tail jigs and stuff, and I don't like those because I think they'll run them about 0.6, 0.7 miles an hour. And I like to cover water. With all these baits I'm showing you, I'll fish them at about between 1 and 1.4 miles an hour most of the time. Occasionally I'll slip on up to 1.6, but usually the faster speeds I don't do as good. But that's the Bobby Garland Stroll R. Another one here is the Charlie Brewer's Slider. Excellent bait. Works well in that speed range I said. A lot of good color combinations, same as the Bobby Garland. Both very productive baits. I don't know why. Some days they prefer one over the other. Don't know why. Crappie are a strange fish. One day they're one color, next day they're the next color. One day they're biting sliders, next day they're biting stroll R's, next day they're biting crankbaits. You have to come out prepared to switch it up, and usually they'll bite one of them. So, but the Charlie Brewer Slider, and this is a little bigger one here. This is the 2 1/8 inch minnow, and I also like these in the grub. I think it's a 2 inch, 1.5 inch, 2 inch. I didn't have a pack on them, but it's a little paddle tail grub. You still run these at about the same speed, 1.2 basically. All these plastics, you rig them up with a jig head, just a standard jig head. Whatever your color choice, mix them up. They like different colors all the time, so but just a standard jig head. And on occasion, I will run them on a underspin jig head. I like these sometimes if I'm trying to catch crappie mainly. I won't use these. These, for whatever reason, when you add that spinner to it, it kind of opens it up and you catch more fish. You'll catch a lot more white perch. You'll catch more largemouth. You'll catch more white bass. You'll catch the occasional striper more. So be careful if you're putting this one on, because I don't think you catch as many crappie, but you'll catch more species when you put that spinner blade on. So anyway, that's my 5 favorite crappie baits for long line trolling. So what I'll do is I'll come back here and I'll give you a little details on how I run them, and so stay tuned. All right, we got a good look at the baits here. Top 5 baits that I like to use for long line trolling. You may have your favorites, and maybe use a different technique than I do, or different baits, whatever. It's probably all similar. But the reason I like these baits over, I see a lot of guys tight lining, and a lot of the tournament fishermen, they tight line. And they probably catch bigger fish, But I think most of them know, they've searched the areas, they found the fish, they know where they're at. Um, Generally, when I go out, I don't go to the same lake each week. I get bored going to the same place, so I switch it up. I go to different lakes, and I try just to get different scenery. I get bored catching the same fish or going to the same lake, so I like going different places and fishing. And this technique allows me to go to those places that I don't know anything about and catch fish. Generally, crappie will be in some creek arm somewhere. They don't really like moving water, real fast water, so don't fish for them in the river channels. But go into creeks, good major creek arms. Generally, they'll be in them. So not hard to find them. And if they're not there, there'll be some other fish, and they bite these things too. So let's go over how I do it. What I do is I'll generally troll anywhere from 3 to 4 rods on each side of my boat. If I'm in my kayak, I'll only do 2 rods. I'll do 1 on each side. But what I'll do is my longest rods, I fish with a 16 foot, I'll fish with a 14 foot, a 12 foot, and a 10 foot rod on each side. And I start at the front of my boat will be my 16 footers. Next rod back will be my 14 footers. Next back will be my 12s, and next back will be my 10s. And then the lures I put off of them up on the 16 foot, I either want my shallowest running crankbait on that one, or my shallowest running jig, which will be my lighter jig head. Maybe a 64th ounce jig head or a 32nd ounce jig head. Next one back will be a 16th ounce jig head. Next one back will be an 1/8 ounce jig head. Next one back closest to the boat will be a 1/4 ounce jig head. That way, closer to the boat, the bait's down a lot deeper. Same way on the crankbaits. I'll run the Bandit 200s up on the front rods out further from the boat. As I get back closer to the boat, then I'll put the Bandit 300s on to get them down further, get them down in that water column. I feel like if the fish are too shallow, the boat's going to spook them. If they're in that 12 to 15 foot water column, it doesn't really spook them that bad. So that's the way I'll spread my lures out and run them that way. And then speed, I'm running generally 1.2 to 1.4. Sometimes I go down to 1, sometimes I go up about 1.6. A lot of times I'll bump up to around 1.6 until I start marking fish. If I mark fish, then I'll slow it down into that 1.2 to 1.4 range, because I'm just trying to cover water. I'm watching my depth finder the whole time, looking at it, like I say, marking fish, and you'll run across them. I'll start in the back of a creek arm, and I'll follow the channel out. I'll look on my electronics, and I follow that channel all the way out until I get to about the mouth of the main channel a lot of times. And generally in between the back and the mouth of the main channel, you'll catch fish. Different times of the year they're further back. The other parts of the year they're further out. Another place to catch them good is up on flats. I like catching them up on flats on the main river channel. So if you got a river channel and it's 40 feet deep, it comes up, and then you got a big flat, out there, like, several football field size. Water's, say, anywhere from 0 to 20 feet deep, but it's a good gradual just decrease down, and then it goes down into the channel. They'll come up on those flats and feed, and then they've got the deep channel over there to go seek cover on if they need to. But those are the general areas I'll look for them on whatever lake I go to, and you'll find them. They're in there somewhere. Not hard to find. Generally within an hour or two, you'll find fish and you'll be on them. So they're around a lot of places. So very productive technique because you cover in water, and then once you find them, just keep going back and forth over that, switching up your colors, and you'll catch more fish. It's not rocket science or nothing real difficult. Speed, color, and finding the fish. That's the three main things. Certain days they won't bite anything, but 9 times out of 10, if they're there, you can get them to bite, unless it's just horrible conditions. So anyway, I hope this helps you catch more fish. I hope I didn't leave anything off. I'll do some videos, crappie fishing here in the coming weeks. Right now I'm boatless. Well, I got a boat, but I don't have a motor. I sold my motor. Was looking about buying a new motor, but kind of rethinking things. I might just buy a whole new boat, period. So once I get all that settled in the next coming weeks, I'll get out and do some more videos. I may even get out on the kayak here in the next week or so and do a video or two, some kayak fishing. So if that's any interest to you, so hope you guys like it. Hope it helps you catch more fish. I hope you like and subscribe, and tell your friends about the channel, and help me build up some viewership, and we'll try to do more videos. Thank you guys. Have a good night.